Set to commence later this month on the Ebuakwa-Tanoso stretch of the Kumasi-Sunyani Road, a problematic section of the Sofo Line interchange project. Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoah-Quanta says work will proceed immediately. The first phase is completed in 2 months. It is part of other road projects, including interchanges, is very part of the Ashanti Regional Capital. Nanaya Ojima has more in the next report.
Residents along Tanoso-Ebuakwa corridor have staged series of demonstrations to protest the poor condition of the road. Persistent traffic congestion has been the lot of motorists and commuters. In October last year, residents of Atwemanwa-Beja district blocked the road for hours in one of such actions over delayed work. Funding has been cited as reason for stalled work, but Mr. Amoah-Quanta says it is time for action.
We shall, within the next 1 to 2 months, finish the first phase, and the second phase, since we have had the approval from PPA, will begin before the end of this month, and it will go in earnest. The Apatrapa to Ebuakwa area into a dual carriage. This nightmare experience will be a thing of the past.
Total road network in Ashanti region stands at 9,692 kilometers, out of which 3,000 kilometers have been paved and the rest rated fair or poor. The minister spells out some intervention plans.
120 kilometers of roads have been awarded within the municipality. 34 kilometers of this have been completed, and the outer areas of Kumasi. Again, contracts for 25 kilometers of roads have been undertaken in this category, and they include works in the Ofolikrom municipality.
Meanwhile, work is progressing on the Kumasi-Obuasi Road, as well as asphalt overlay of Kumasi High Courts and Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. From Kumasi for Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
And before we go, for over 2 decades, she has become an integral part of the multimedia group's success story. Over the period, she combined charity, magnanimity, and skill on radio to change lives and also bring hope to many people, some of whom had virtually come to a dead end in their lives. She is taking on a plethora of issues and also extended support to multitudes in areas of education, career, finances, relationships, and others, as she sat on Love FM and later in Shira FM. Is it now time to take a bow? Well, yesterday, May 5, 2020, was the 60th birthday of Eleanor Efe Amano, which means the beginning of her retirement life. In the following News Desk report, we put the spotlight on her journey, the exciting moments, the hurdles, the safe landings, and what next.
Ghana total cases 2,169.
Mama Efe, Asofo Niaba, Mama One, Sweet Mama, Ghana's Oprah Winfrey, and lately Lady Amano are but a few of nicknames and accolades showered on her by either admirers or herself.
Hey! The banana body di oh your friend is saying love story. What happened no? Wow.
From a panelist on Night Marriage Counseling flagship, our Raymond Komo on Love FM at the station's inception in 1998, through social media magazine Masemnie as host, Mama Efe established an institution.
Only just a day.
Yes, a day.
Okay, day be.
Somewhere September.
You want
September.
The program later transited onto Insura FM and later rechristened Obra. Since then, there has been no turning back. Opening upon Wadia, who hosted the original Obramu Obre, a personality profile show on Love FM, worked with Mama Efe.
Mama Efe, meaning Love FM. If you be kakrini, smart jini be kamia, afiapim, aunku, edokru wapi, kopim. From 1998 to 2002, na menino sano na memi ye dwumadie bia na ne din ye Obramu Obre na ye befrase a ne to anwuwe Obra
Multiple local and international award-winning Ghana's Oprah Winfrey and her program's influence transcended barriers of sex, age, religion and culture, tribe, geography, socio-economic and other considerations. Mama Efe has made afternoon radio talk the favorite of many across the globe. Her listening ability, calm and soothing submission, and interrogation catch wrongdoers off guard, carry her listeners with emotional touch. Joyce Hagan has been a panelist on Obra since 2007.
Emma Formula is a unique program. I quite well remember we used to solve problems under the tree. We used to be at Amukum. When we were at Amukum, we were solving problems under the tree. So after we finished the program, people will come, people will be waiting for us downstairs, and then we will be standing around the tree solving problems. It was Mama Efe, Sofumame Boafo, and myself. And then we will solve the problems until it's been solved before we can go home. And then one day, I think Kwesi Chung came, and then he saw us under the tree. And then he was saying that, how come you haven't got an office? And then Mama Efe said, we haven't got an office, but we meet under the tree. And then he promised Mama Efe that when we go to the new place, he would definitely give her an office.
More importantly, her commitment to practically intervene and address individuals' concerns draws smiles and hope from individuals, some of whom begin their tales in tears.
Do the jenna, a duty for the being same day the jenna. My feel a boy me pa. Bayman is in the bar and she have so by open and back. Yes, we have made our Nambana day, Abit. The meeting in Manu, swab a chama Mayfi, sit Bayman and Bayman and by me. And to that day, I buy an army, Mamma Efe Buame, Mamma Moon, and to my be crying and the Architect Bay. To Mamma Efe.
So, with such huge mark on individuals and society, what next for yet another of Ghana's senior citizens? That is a question perhaps Mama Efe herself will have to answer after today. On the occasion of her 60th anniversary, the entire management and staff of Multimedia Group Limited wish you, Mama Efe, a happy and glorious birthday. Live to be 104.5.
The newspapers. Mamavi, good morning to you. I love your green.
Good morning, Roland Walker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. All right.
Today's what? Wednesday?
Yes, it is.
This week.
Oh. Why, the year they go fast for you?
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about the money, you know?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
You go take or buy food for the children.
Charlie.
You get plenty of school fees pay. Don't forget, even though it be online.
Oh, Roland, we have to discuss school now.
Even though it be online. Even though it be online. I think it's the most annoying thing we're not used to, because we have to do alternative means of learning and using the internet-based platforms. And then when you're asked to pay school fees, you say, what? You know, we're used to face-to-face. So once the kids are not going through the face-to-face, you feel that why should they? But you know, the schools too have invested in these alternative platforms, the IT or the artificial intelligence platforms, and they are expensive to roll out.
But check this out.
Don't try to downplay my level.
They're supposed to start like the third term. So if we do online, are we still paying the school fees?
Yes. You haven't been told.
The full fees?
You haven't been given messages.
No.
And you know, I love the way when you're communicating on WhatsApp and those ones. You see that one, there's no emotion. It's very non-emotive. So the school just put it there. Bang.
No. It's not possible. You still have to call like a virtual PTA meeting. We've got to agree on that.
Yeah, but I'm saying that once it's not face-to-face, you don't have to empathize with anybody emotionally. So, I mean, you just put
what
it there.
What I do know, really, is that the private schools wanted to start.
Okay.
But the Ghana Education Service says, no way, you cannot. I mean, it has to be a state decision. But the thing is, if I am not doing the face-to-face, remember I pay for face-to-face, I pay for other things as well because we are using your facility. Now I'm using my hall mainly, I'm using my electricity the whole time, and I'm using my internets. So the fees won't be the same. But then again, I'm also thinking about the fact that the schools have also employed people that they have to pay.
Yeah.
You know, but if I'm not getting exactly what I pay cash for, then I shouldn't pay the full fees. You don't think so?
I think so in some regard. If the fees usually are very high, you know, there are some schools that the fees are high. So if that is the case,
whether it's high or not.
But you know, if you are in such a predicament or situation, you're a parent, or even yourself going to school and you have to pay fees because you're using an internet-based platform and you don't seem to understand, please let us know and tell us your situation. And we have our WhatsApp platform, but we also do have...
we have to also direct you to COVID and the law because Samson dealt with the subject 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, thinking about, do I pay the full fees? Okay, let's do the newspapers. We're not paying for that, so let's start with the newspapers. Time for the review. I'll do the Finder, the Daily Statesman, and the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let's begin with the Finder, and here's what's on the front page. COVID-19 infections at peak. Decline depends on adherence to prevention protocols. Comes with a picture of the Health Minister, Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, who was, oh gosh, yesterday,
I guess... Was it an appeal or he was being emotional?
Oh, I mean, I think he was talking like a father who thought his children were not doing the right things,
right?
You know?
You see, for me, I think that the commendation has to go to the president, coming to the COVID team and the rest of the supporting technocrat experts that we have who are doing the thing at the top. My only issue is, and I think I've mentioned this, but I don't know whether right here, I feel that maybe heads of the various MMDAs have to follow through, because then they can do the trickle-down work. Because in my community, which is a very mixed community of those who have and have nots, I've not heard anybody using a van to drill down the information into the minds or the ears of the people. Because we know the behavioral patterns of the ordinary Ghanaian. I mean, when you talk the big English and you speak the nice, whether vernacular on radio, etc., unless you follow through and do the daily marking, it just doesn't drill down that awareness is there. They have to put on the mask or observe the protocol. And I think that it is what is lacking.
So this is what I also observed, and this is my interpretation of quite a bit of things that have happened. Often, the decision is taken, and they have to, those down there will have to rush and try and see how they can make it happen on the ground. I think that's been our problem. If it's coordinated at the same time, if they're on the same pace. Remember when the lockdown was lifted, for instance, we had issues with the market immediately because they now had to strategize and see how they could do the social distancing in the market, how they could enforce, let everybody wear face mask and stuff like that. I think that's the problem, really. I think that's really the problem. We can ask the MMDAs down there to take ownership. But at what point do they get the information in the first place? So let's look at the rest of the stories on the front page of the Finder. Still on COVID, CBG shared 500,000 Ghana cedis worth of food during lockdown. Adongo's accusations against Osafo Maafo baseless, according to Carlos Ahenkra. Donnelly called for de-escalation of politics on COVID-19 when government responds. That's according to Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma. Shopping malls in Accra laments decline of patronage. It's going to take a while. Malls is going to take a while. You know, we will pick up. Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Government seals 3 billion Ghana cedis deal for industries to cushion them against impacts of COVID-19. Noguchi free for real-time COVID-19 tests. Government supports media worth 5,000 PPE. SC, Supreme Court dismisses cases against Ken Ofori-Atta, $2.2 billion dollar bond, and then Ghana-US military cooperation agreement. So 2 key things the Supreme Court dealt with yesterday, making headlines. In the center spread of the paper, well, details of essentially what's on the front page by way of headline, the details of the stories in the center spread. So let's turn attention to the back page. Plans to construct 4 interchanges in Kumasi in the pipeline, according to the Minister, Roads and Highways Minister, Amoah-Akwata, Kwesi Amoah-Akwata. Arrest families who abandon their mentally ill relatives. Government has been urged to trigger the immediate enforcement of sections of the Mental Health Act that criminalizes families who abandon their mentally ill relatives as the country strives to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Let's do the Daily Statesman. I'll end with the Ghanaian Observer, the Daily Statesman front page. Supreme Court dismisses $2.25 billion Eurobond suits. Let's not toil in vain. Health Minister appeals to Ghanaians to adjust lifestyle in COVID-19 fights. But he also sounded frustrated.
I think it's just
coordinated.
No. So it has to go down. Community by community. Somebody has to be responsible for something. And I think that is the MMDCEs who have to take up this charge. I don't think they are doing enough. Because you know, Kojo Ponkroma and the rest of the team, Charlie, they do great work.
Roland Walker.
They do great work. Yes, madam.
You can go and stand on the podium and scream.
No. I'm not talking about podium.
No. I'm making a point here.
Okay.
I'm just saying that if it is not coordinated well, communication, and yesterday we did a brief analysis of the press conference and the things that were said. I did with Winston Amoah. Are you giving us information or you're educating us? There is a difference. Is it information or is education? Both would need different strategies. So we've got to consider that very carefully. You can stand on the top and scream. It won't get anywhere. You can sound frustrated. It will still be the same story. I mean, we know us, don't we? Even when we were under strict lockdown, look at the efforts that went into enforcement. People just came out. It had to take something. So if we behave like we don't know what it takes to enforce anything that we want people to follow in Ghana, then we will be here for a very long time, Roland Walker. Lifestyle changes for a typical Ghanaian. Massa, you have to be on it for a while. And we know what we have to do. Enforce. You get what I mean?
Well.
Yeah. That's what it takes. Otherwise, you can scream all you like. We will still be here. Well, you feel me?
I feel you. That's why I think that the MMDCs need to do that job. What do you say?
Charlie, let's do the Ghanaian Observer, yeah?
Please do.
Last paper for me, Ghanaian Observer. Coronavirus pandemic, Noguchi clears backlog of samples as Ghana's vigorous testing regime hailed. Supreme Court clears Finance Minister over $2.25 billion Eurobond saga. Adongo out to tarnish Osafo Mafo's image, according to Carlos Ahenkra. Bawumia punches Mahama. But we know social media has been hard on him. And yeah, all right, back page, a couple of sports stories, but we'll leave that to Benedict when he comes here to fill us in.
Yeah.
What have you got, Roland?
Talking about sports, you heard that the English Premier League board say that it looks like what they are estimating, some £200 million could be the hole that the various clubs need to fill. And they are looking at how they can bounce back, and it's not going to be easy, just like the way countries are suffering. Yeah. But let's go to the custodian, and my good friend who is the managing editor of this paper, Awudu, as well as to your son and your wife. Good morning to you, Awudu. The custodian has on the front page, Supreme Court clears Ken. I mean, Ken is a reference to the finance minister who has his picture attached to the front page story. Headline, Supreme Court clears Ken on $2.25 billion bond issuance. Throws out NDC's Bojajim fee. And that is on the front page of the custodian newspaper. And then we have apologized to Osafo over Unipass, Carlos Ahinkra, who is a deputy trade minister to Isaac Adongo of the NEC of Bongo. We have wrong use of Veronica Bucket's code spread COVID-19 UDS research. Mama, this is quite interesting, coming from a researcher with the Department of Biotechnology of the Faculty of Agriculture at the UDS Nyampala campus, and Dr. Courage Sechofia Saba is indicating that instead of touching them, and you know sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable trying to touch the buckets, and you finish washing your hand, and now you have to turn the tap off. Oh, there's a skill. You use the same tissue you use in wiping your hands. What if there's no tissue? Oh, there's got to be tissue. You can have water and soap without some so that is where we have to wipe. According to their research and observations, there seem to be infections that could come. So you want to prevent coronavirus, but altogether you're transmitting different forms of germs altogether. Well, there's something I learned, reading around. So we've been talking about face masks, but what is even more crucial, more effective, according to research, is social distancing. Yes. Yeah, I'll share a bit more. And I think that has been emphasized by Dr. Letitia Adelaide Appiah, who is Executive Director for the National Population Council. Because even in Germany, they are saying that, look, the social distancing is the best way as they are opening up the country to make sure that people don't spread. Yeah, because, when you do the mask messaging, people just simply think, oh, I can wear the mask and still be very close to you. Okay, what I mean? Once I'm wearing the mask, then it's safe. But the whole idea, the social distancing, stay very far from me. That's even more effective. Yeah. So we have other story. Banks in resilient position to meet withdrawals, according to the Bank of Ghana. I don't know what this means, that we can all go and withdraw money and the banks will be cool, or that, well, you can just make the approaches to your bankers, you need whatever, and the bank will still be normal. Let's go to the back page of the same paper, The Custodian. GFAFA to consult government over the 2019-2020 football season cancellation. Because the clubs are just worried, they are lurking around, you want to do anything untoward, they could slap some suits on you. English football clubs, though, they face £200 million hole by September. There's an evidence given in video camera by Rick Parry, and he's quite worried. Boss of the EFL. Okay. Let's go to the Daily Guide. The Daily Guide has on the front page, human skull idol seized from killer priest. The suspect's picture there in full nose marks. One not wearing it well. The nose is brazenly open. It's a mouth mask. Breathing into the air. Yeah, don't know how we do that. Other stories, the NDC goes ballistic over Bawumia. That's how they decided to put it, because yesterday Twitter just went ablaze. Over 9,000 tweets on Twitter. And just what was the hashtag again? I forgot it. Something Bawumia. Get to work for something. Also, or yeah. Something. Yeah. COVID-19 infections peak, and then we have a tune for happy birthday to you, Oteko Kosonana.
Is Tumfo's birthday today?
Yeah, 70th. And he looks good. Money is good. Yeah.
Should have known that earlier.
Mommy, if we have money, we'll grow well.
Guitar.
We'll eat well because we'll grow well.
Okay, how much money do you think you need to grow well?
So we go to the back page of the Daily Guide. Has on the back page, it's wrong to declare Barca champs. You know, the EPL is thinking if they don't bounce back, Liverpool has to be.
No way.
Mama V, the screen just
How do you
shook.
call that a win?
The screen just shook. I think it's a bit impolite when you shout on our viewers. It's a bit impolite.
So don't say what you just said.
Bundesliga, no? The Bundesliga, back page of the Daily Guide, Bundesliga is returned to Bundesliga.
Until shouting, Roland.
This one is not shaking. The screen is not shaking. Bundesliga may return May 15. Charlie, putting on my best skills.
It's wrong to declare Liverpool champs.
Charlie, Bundesliga.
Okay, let's do myjoyonline.com.
Okay, Mama V, I give you that. Let me see. Oh, let me do dispatch. Let me do dispatch.
Real quick.
Uncle Beneficent, good morning to you. So we have EC plans for new voters register dated April 15, 2020. They are apprising you of what the plans were. Registration will take 40 days. June to mid-July 2020. This thing to come off. Please get your loins. Okay? Get ready. When they open the registrations, and multiple of them, it's going to be butu. Go and register. Quick.
Roland, that's wrong information.
Okay. I'm talking about the dispatch.
Yeah, but it didn't say anything butu.
Quick.
Read what you see.
I want to behave like the local language.
This is Joy News. Let's do myjoyonline.com. Let's run by you. What's on our page this morning? And then two other stories, fascinating stories. One is a 5-year-old who was found driving on the highway. Yeah, we have details for you, but let's do myjoyonline.com. Here we go. Our top story on my jawline is the fact that data on Ghana's rate of COVID-19 infection shows the country's case count has peaked. That's according to Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Bedusa Kodie. He says, though, that the rate of infection is yet to decline, but this will only happen if the preventive protocol for the virus are adhered to. So, you know, that's why you have to do the right things. You have to do the right things. Okay, also on the page, this was on the bar yesterday as I presented it here on the AM show. Supreme Court grants man left paralyzed, impotent after accident in 2009, damages in excess of 600,000. That's a very strong decision there. Also, don't come out and gather unnecessarily, according to the health minister. COVID-19 Ghana to start daily testing May 7. Fort Burkinabe is arrested after entering Ghana illegally. Ablakwa backs call for temporary opening of Ghana's borders. He is also on our show. Yes, today minority leader calls on president to withdraw pre-tertiary education bill. Plenty other stories on myjoyonline.com that you can find time and explore. Let's do the BBC real quick before we make way for sports here on our show. So let's check out the BBC right now.
Because your sons want to buy Maserati, Lamborghini, when we know that their parents can't buy even the windscreen of such cars.
So there's a 5-year-old who was driving from Utah to California to buy a Lamborghini with $3.
Allah.
But thankfully, he was just 5 minutes into that trip when he was stopped by the police.
Just 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, the right of discernment, and in the mind of a 5-year-old, I don't know how he would have been on the road if he had traveled longer. But that's where somebody has a great insight into how discernment is important, because he's a chief. Togbui Ajasi Jaga the Sixth, you are senior divisional chief of the Awudome traditional area. You're also the acting president of the Awudome traditional area and chief of Awudome Avenue. Good morning to you, my good friend and good brother. And then you're also the managing partner of Savannah Consult, chartered accountant and tax expert. Good morning to you as well. And I know that you're doing some good work for your people. Salifu Combat. Good morning to you. Head of primary healthcare pharmacy, Boku Presbyterian Hospital.
Okay, just one.
I'm Sean Benedict. It's always a pleasure joining you on this platform. Now, in our very first story this morning, cancellation or continuation of the Ghana Premier League is still a subject matter within the football fraternity. Now, the Ghana FA has confirmed the clubs are divided on what should be the strategy going forward. Well, while some want the league to be cancelled, others are of the view that they wait for coronavirus to go so they continue the season. Well, CAF Medical Committee member Dr. Prince Pambo thinks continuing the league will be inappropriate.
In sports, what we have control over and what we should be thinking about at the moment is to plan how football would return post-COVID. So if football is supposed to be returning in the next 3, 4, 5 months, how is it going to return? Because believe you me, COVID has come to stay with us as one of the disease conditions we'll be treating normally in our various clinics going forward. So if football is even supposed to return, how is it going to return responsibly? So those are the things we need to be looking at now. So yes, back to your premise. With all these numbers, with our numbers keep going up, we haven't gotten to the point where our curve is flattening yet. Is it appropriate to be thinking or to want to force it to start now? The answer is no. It is not appropriate to want to force any games to start now. But it will be appropriate to have a future date in mind, somewhere September, October, November, that all things being equal, we believe and hope that by such a time, things would have normalized a bit. And then we want to plan that from that time, if it is a new season that is coming on, these are the various things we are going to be doing. And that is what we are doing from the point of CAF. And that's why CAF has written to the member associations. Let us know what you want to do. If you want to truncate your league and start at a later date, if you want to start your league now, tell us what measures you are going to put in place. Then we will give you the guidelines you will need to implement. If you are going to play in an empty stadium, if you are going to play with restricted numbers, they will give you the medical guidelines which are designed by the Medical Committee of CAF to fit into this COVID era. So it is absolutely not right to be thinking and wanting to force sports to start anytime soon.
The discussion definitely will open that Joado is speaking on Black Stars coach CK Akona. Well, in this period of coronavirus, you know, the talk has always been about whether the league should continue or we should cancel it. Well, before that, we also were looking at whether clubs should speak to their players and for them to take pay cuts. Well, we sampled views of some football administrators and we're going to go through. So first there was Mr. Wandiabe, who is an executive council member of the Football Association. And for him, I quote, said we should have more deliberation because clubs are as affected financially as their players. So, of course, he is looking at a possible pay cut, but we have to, you know, deliberate in terms of the players and the club administrators look at how best they can do this. Now, Jembibi Koka of Asante Kotoko, he's their CEO, said why difference is in wages makes it difficult to ask players to sacrifice their meager salaries. So he is not in favor of the idea of a pay cut. Now, Kingsley Osebonsu, Bechem United CEO, also not in favor, and the quote attributed to him says, my lowest earning player takes 300 Ghana cedis a month. How can I cut this further? So it means he's not in favor. And Kotoko official Dr. Kwame Banuako also not in favor, and he says Ghana's player earnings are averagely lower than African counterparts and hence won't be realistic. Now for Fatah Odaoda, who plays for Legon Cities, of course he's a player and says no to the idea of a pay cut. Well, he said we'll wish to take less than we do, but how much do players even take? So that's a question from Fatah Odaoda. And Honorable Alexa Jekum, who is a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee for Sports, he is in favor of the idea of players taking pay cuts in this coronavirus period, and for him, players should compromise for a pay cut to help keep their clubs alive. So we still stay here on the local scene, and it appears we took the impact of sports on our lives for granted. Now, the routine sporting weekends have been reshaped to suit the dictates of COVID-19. But if you think you've been hardly hit by COVID-19 as a fan of the game, ask any investor. Well, my colleagues Hansado Mensah and Muftar Nabila Abdullahi have been speaking to some investors in our game.
The three leagues, that's the Premier League, the Division 1, and the Women's League, collectively employs about 40,000 people.
There may not be signs backing the contribution of sports to Ghana's economy, but it is a known fact it contributes significantly to the country's economic fortunes. The sector employs thousands directly and indirectly, and it has not been spared by the coronavirus pandemic. There has been no sporting events since the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, announced the suspension of all social gatherings over a month ago, and this has had a profound impact on nearly all sectors, including sports. The conversation about the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on sports has been largely centered around football, with proposed pay cuts for players in Ghana's top division taking center stage. What about private individuals whose businesses are pivoted around sports? Right Sports are organizers of the annual Sprite Ball Basketball Championship, the country's premier basketball competition for second cycle institutions. They also organize UPAC Basketball Championship and the Ghana Basketball Awards. Yao Sechi is the company's CEO.
Yeah, the COVID definitely has had a huge impact on our basketball activities this year. I mean, fortunately, we started with, as we do every year, we started with the Sprite Ball Championship, which was very successful. And we continue with the UPAC Basketball Championship, which we do annually for universities. And then COVID-19. And with the virus expected to linger around for a very long time to come, and considering the fact that we work with the academic calendar of the institutions, we are still confused as to when we can even resume these activities. Remember that most of the activities that you see Right Sports engage in, these activities are pre-financed. If you see us doing Sprite Ball, we need to invest money into Sprite Ball. I have to take loans from banks to finance the events.
Boxing is a major sport in Ghana. A gentleman who has paid his dues to the game and continues to do so is Alex Intiamwa, a boxing promoter and manager. His company, Box Office Promotions, employs a number of boxers. The coronavirus pandemic and the ban on sports activities have put the brakes on his business, but he continues to pay boxers and other employees. He says government must extend the hand of support to private individuals who invest directly into sports.
It has not been easy as a boxing promoter and manager because, our work evolves around events. And due to this COVID-19, events must be suspended till further notice because we don't know how the trend will go in terms of the...
Daniel Esiedu owns a sports merchandise shop, Sportsnet. Since 1992, he's provided sporting equipment to individuals, schools, churches, and other entities. But for over a month now, the once patronized shop has been deserted. He has suffered unimaginable losses.
Okay, in fact, since the COVID started, our business, our sports business is like we deal with the clubs, the football clubs, the schools. They buy their volleyballs, soccer balls, their jerseys, and everything from us. So with this, we are having a problem because the churches also buy trophies for their competitions, their Bible competitions. They are also not functional. the sports clubs, the Keep Fit clubs, they are all not functioning. So we are also not functioning because they are not buying. Nobody's doing anything, so we don't have anything. So we are also very, very hit hard. And we hope when there are issues and there are settlements with the companies, will be also considered as being hit with the COVID.
The fortunes of these individuals and their businesses depends on how well Ghana deals with the coronavirus pandemic. With no clear timelines in place, it is difficult to know what the future holds for Daniel and other investors in the sector. It appears for now that they can only go by the dictates of COVID-19.
So that was Hans Mensah and Muftau Abdullah's reports. Well, today the German Chancellor will give the green light to the German Football Federation to resume the league. So that will be on May 15, that's next week Friday. Also, Barcelona players will begin training this morning to see a possible resumption of the Spanish La Liga. That's your sport.
Business. It's a Wednesday. Globally, some airlines have rebelled against the idea of social distancing on their flights as they seek to operate in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, arguing it's simply not viable. But here in Ghana, domestic airline operators are in strict adherence to the social distancing and other safety protocols as flights begin operations. So today we explore the new measures from the airport and on board the flights.
Passenger turnout on day one of resuming domestic commercial flights after the lockdown was surprisingly high. New protocols such as checking of temperature, mandatory wearing of face masks and the use of hand sanitizers and social distancing were enforced. Passengers even had to hold out their ID from a distance. On board, some seats were left vacant to ensure social distancing. Sean Mendes is the Chief Operating Officer of Africa World Airlines.
Well, so far the response has been very positive. We've had a number of passengers who've been very eager to get back to flying. All our flights today are sold out, so that's been a start. It'll be quiet over the weekend because obviously business has not yet opened and it's a long weekend. But we're very positive that as things begin to get a little more back to normal and people get used to the protocols involved with the social distancing and the sanitization and so forth, that we are obviously using sanitizers to wipe down all the surfaces which are used. We are using microfiber cloths for the cleaning because these actually are the best ones to use rather than woven fiber. We use hand sanitizers throughout. We have disinfectant sprays which are used to wipe down inside the aircraft, as well as at the baggage area there is a more heavy-duty chemical. You've seen the spray tanks and things which are used to disinfect the baggage and the equipment and the buses which are used to transport the passengers. So overall there's a lot of work which has gone into developing the right formulations and everything in terms of ensuring that the right safety precautions and the right products are being used which are effective specifically against coronavirus, to be able to ensure that anything that a passenger or our staff come in contact with is properly sterilized.
So this is the waiting area where passengers are waiting to board their aircraft. Now, one thing you observe here is this signage on the seats which says, "Please do not sit here." So this is to ensure that there's spacing to adhere to the social distancing protocols, like you can see with these two passengers. This is to ensure that there's no transmission through close contact. Passengers were impressed with the enhanced safety measures at the airport.
I'm very impressed because I came from US. We do the same thing over there. So when I came here, I always carry my gloves and my mask. So that one is very safe. For us, I mean, it's very good. They're doing a good job here.
I picked the bus earlier. However, they are not adhering to the safety measures. But for the airlines, the protocols are being enforced and we are being checked at every point.
Deputy Minister for Aviation Yao Afol assured government's commitment to protect passengers and urged passengers to adhere to the new protocols for their safety.
The government is very, very, very interested in making sure that everybody in this country is safe, particularly those who are going to be getting on the various aircrafts. So my message to them is make sure that all the protocols that have been set in place is followed. Don't get angry at staff if he or she tells you to go and use a sanitizer. Don't tell them, oh, I just use it, so I'm not going to use it. You follow exactly what they tell you to do at the airport when you get to the airport. I believe if we do that, we are all going to be safe.
So right from the terminal, your temperature is checked, there's social distancing, the workers and the staff who handle your documents regularly sanitized to ensure there's no transmission. Now here on the air side, if you observe, passengers come out one at a time to ensure social distancing. If you move on, before you board, you're also handed hand sanitizers to ensure that you sanitize your hands before you get to board the aircraft. All these are part of the new measures and protocols that have been introduced by the airport authorities and the Ghana Port Health to ensure that we're able to contain the spread of the coronavirus as Ghana has taken the bold step to begin its domestic flight operations. Going to be Tamale, where we'll be seeing if the same thing is happening over there. So come on board. For domestic airlines like Passion Air, flying during the coronavirus crisis means they have to operate under exceptional circumstances. They have to implement a number of hygienic measures such as regular hand sanitizing, compulsory wearing of face mask, and a principal guideline of social distancing on board. In order to ensure the social distancing on board, some seats are left unoccupied, translating into lower passenger load for the airlines. Samuel Tichi is the marketing and sales manager for Passion Air.
Averagely, we take 35, 50, thereabout. So it's a good load. But with the social distancing, currently we are averaging or taking about 38 passengers. So you have about 40 seats going west. Those are. But parents traveling with their children can do that. They can sit together. That is allowed.
Observing social distancing on board appears to be something quite challenging for the airlines, because for most of these airlines it means giving about 1/3 of their seats away. There's empty seats, and this is money that will be lost. So the question now becomes, how will the airlines absorb this cost, and are passengers willing to pay an extra cedi or more just to ensure their safety as they continue to fly?
I'll say yes and no, because some people may not be able to afford the increase in prices. Others may be able to afford. So this will depend on the individual. But for me, where I sit, increasing a bit will not be bad. But if it is increased to a level that it can affect a lot of people, then you see that they will not be able to get the number of passengers that they want to in order to make up their cost.
One of the impacts of COVID has been its impact on the economy now and then going ahead. So I think that it might be difficult to say customers are going to absorb any increases in prices, but as people are asking for stimulus packages and all that, I think the government should come in now, whether it has to do with taxes or anything like that, so that the burden rather goes to the government, so to speak, rather than it being transferred to customers or the aviation sector.
With most airlines having already burnt through their cash reserves after weeks of being grounded, how will they cope?
This is where inventory management comes in. Previously we had promo fares and we have discounted fares and low fares. Because of the social distancing that we are experiencing, those ones have been wiped out, and so our fares are taking effect from the silver fare class. We have the bronze, silver, and then the gold fare class. So now we're selling from silver upwards. The current situation is a very fluid situation. It's very difficult to forecast now. I mean, things are changing very fast. So we expect to have an evaluation of this current fares after 4 to 6 weeks. And then afterwards, we take a decision and then see the way forward.
As the local airlines struggle to mitigate the growing impact of the COVID-19 on their revenues, there are also calls for government to intervene to save the airline operators so passengers can continue to fly.
I think government should come in to help. If they'll bear part of the cost because of the social distances, because it will go a long way to affect the airline itself. So if you don't take a month or two and they realize business is not good, if you don't take it, they will halt their activity. So government should come in to support them.
We believe that government has a vested interest in the aviation industry because aviation plays a vital role in the growth of the economy. And with the interest of the government in the growth of the aviation industry and the economy at large, I believe government will do something to aid the sector.
So as a player yourself, have you applied and have you seen any steps being taken towards this?
As a player, we are doing what we have to do, and then we just believing that the government with its vested interest would make a move that would be to the benefit of everybody.
So right from the Kotoka airport to on board the airline, that is Passion Air, and right here at the Tamale airport, airport authorities are not leaving any stone unturned in ensuring that the new safety protocols are observed to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Now, here at Tamale, you can observe that a makeshift system has been set up here for passengers to wash their hands and also sanitize before they get into the boarding area or the arrival halls. Reporting for Joy Business from the Tamale Airport, my name is Sheila Tamaklo.
Well, it's good. Well, it's good that we've had a resumption of domestic flights, but it also speaks to the broader effort to make sure that we're able to nip this in the bud or control this as a country and ultimately get the economy back on track. And it's where I told you earlier on about how we needed to put to bed all the related concerns that had first been expressed by the Minister for Information as he was moderating the briefing on Tuesday with the COVID team about the politicization of the conversation on coronavirus. But there's also a related extended matter about how we need to look at the broader framework of economic management and whether that could be equated also to a better management of the crisis of COVID in Ghana. And we have in the studio Yao Boabing Asamoah, who is a member of parliament for Adentan. And good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, and he also happens to be the Director of Communication for the MPP. So it helps for us to put the related issues to bed. But Fifi Kwete, we all do know him, a former Deputy Minister of Finance, but also Member of Parliament for Ketu South. And the vociferous man is here. Very quiet, but when he talks, well, he used to spill a lot of venom, but these days it seems to be very calm. We'll see how he fares right here in the studio. And thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, great.
Pleasure.
But look, let's watch this and perhaps we can have some pointers and start the discussion in the first place.
We appreciate the recent calls for a de-escalation of the growing politicization. These calls are in line, if you recall, with calls that we started making right here from this podium about a month ago, that it is important for the country to remain focused on the common enemy. The president has been making it in his speeches. We have to focus on the common enemy, that's COVID-19, and not on one another. Initially, when we started making these calls for an apolitical discussion of the subject, and for us to create more room for the experts to do the analysis, we were mocked. You'll recall some of the political leaders were mocking us and making all sorts of comments. At that time, some of the very respected persons who are making these calls for a de-escalation of politics today, at that time they were very quiet. Because as it appears, their political leaders and their candidates were championing a political agenda at the time. So they were very quiet. Now when political actors from the government side are also now responding politically, all of a sudden they say everybody should begin to tone down on politicization. That is the truth. of what has happened so far, the nation, in all honesty, stands a real risk of losing focus and degenerating into partisan political banter, while the real key issue of COVID-19 and managing it is relegated to the background. That's a real risk that we run, where we are going. And this risk, we started, as I mentioned, we started warning a little over a month ago. So it's important that we all not be silent when our candidate is politicizing the matter, only to speak when other people start responding politically. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Let's be honest in this country. If we don't want politics in this matter like we are preaching it, when people start politicizing it, the faith-based groups, the religious leaders, the civil society organizations, the media, call it out that this is politics, let's put it aside and focus on the enemy. If you don't, the other side also has politicians. They will start politicizing it, and we will be the collective losers. And so we'll go back to that prayer we prayed about a month ago, that let's focus on the common enemy, that's COVID-19, and let's put the politicization aside. If senior statesmen sit around because their political candidate is politicizing a matter and they choose not to condemn it, religious leaders, civil society groups, everybody sits by, then don't be surprised when political actors from the other side also start responding. However, we still have an opportunity to keep our collective focus and to cut out partisanship so that we can win together.
And straight away, what option do I have? I have to pose a question to Yabobian Samoa, Member of Parliament for Dente, but also speaking for the governing party and directing affairs of communication in there. And what do you make of? Is that the position that even the MPP as a party and even as legislators or on the majority side also seem to have? That's this extreme politicization of the conversation nationally on coronavirus?
Roland, thank you. Let me first say good morning to His Excellency the President and Ghanaians as a whole, and to commend the President and our Honorable Minister of Information, the Honorable Oppong Nkrumah, for the excellent job that they've done so far. The President has made it clear that this is a national effort, and he has sought to address it, and he has sought to engage Ghanaians regularly. Beyond the President, the Minister of Information has built a very credible platform where technicians, medics, and public institutions involved directly in the front line in the fight against COVID have come forward and expressed views about how to go about this process. So yes, Roland, when was the last time you heard me speak? The New Patriotic Party as an organization, as an institution, has made a conscious effort to support the President in his call that this is a fight, a common fight against a common enemy, an invisible enemy, which is the coronavirus. And therefore, the party's posture has been to support the President's efforts to avoid creating the impression that this is a partisan political fight. And in that context, if you notice, many of the media houses must be commended for not engaging in the usual MPP, NDC paneling over the past month. A few times that you've had party people come into the studio, and I must commend the now Honorable Deputy Minister of Health, who was then government spokesperson, who was the one who held the ball essentially and educated the public effectively.
You mean Okoboy?
Yes. And it's now Honorable Deputy Minister of Health. So the government has positioned itself to fight a national fight. Yes, we appreciate that the opposition has to find a way of doing something about it. And one of the ways they have is to make statements in Parliament. We all remember the infamous call for the Honorable Member for Northton, Oblakwa, saying that we should have brought in students from China. At that time, if we had panicked and we had responded, perhaps right now would not be where we are with our control efforts, which are way ahead.
You mean we would have brought people in without quarantining them?
We wouldn't have, at the time, we didn't even know the protocols. At the time the call was made, we didn't even know the protocols. We didn't know the transmission methods. We didn't know anything enough about this. Now we know the social distancing is critical. We are wearing masks, and yet, if we are not careful, if we don't adhere to the protocols, we don't know which direction we are. Don't forget, we are still in COVID. We are still fighting. It's a battle. Notwithstanding the attempt to politicize, it's a battle. We are still in COVID, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen next. So, to the extent that now we know some protocols, we are adhering to those protocols. It requires self-discipline. It requires that we stay focused, and that we still have a mindset that does not attempt to establish a parallel process, but actually supports, if even it's criticism, sound criticism. Talk about the call from Wuhan. The next thing we know, the former president sets up a team to run an agenda on COVID. I mean, you are not in government. How do you set up a team to manage a national crisis? It was not on. Then he starts public addresses, most of which aim at, downing the impact and effect of what government is doing, to the extent that it has provoked reaction. Now, the Minister of Information has laid down the marker. I think he has spoken very, very clearly that if the temperature rose, as Ghanaians will say, Adabraka, let it come down. Let us step back. Let the politicization be over. Let's step back from the brink. And let's focus on beating this once and for all. Because what is at stake is huge. Our very way of life is at stake. Our economy is at stake. Look at the clips about whether or not we can have domestic flights, and the businesses are under pressure. When business is under pressure, it means people can't go and come. When people don't go and come, there are no incomes. America is reported has lost 30 million jobs already. The mighty America. So it is important that we stay focused as a nation on beating the coronavirus.
Because you feel any comment from political personalities, politically exposed persons and institutions tends to derail efforts or defocus the agenda?
Not all comments.
Okay.
We are not that thin-skinned. I mean, this is Ghana. When you were introducing Fifi, I thought you were going to remind him that he used to be the propaganda secretary of the NDC.
Yeah, there was a position like that.
We've been at this game for a long time.
Prior to 2009?
Yes. We've been at this game for a long time. We understand what's at stake. I think that you cannot expect the NDC not to say anything at all. But there are certain things that one says that I believe are below the belt. I think they can say constructive things. I think they have a right to demonstrate their presence. But a presence that seeks to establish a parallel governance structure is not on. A presence that seeks to criticize unfairly is not on. We shouldn't encourage things like that.
Mr. Kwete, what first came into your mind when you heard the Minister of Information make that statement categorically? He was clear, because that is the resonating sentiment or concern on the corridors of government, and the team that is managing the national crisis, that comments from your party, your flag bearer, seem to be not going down well, and has been concluded to be politicization of the management of the COVID crisis.
Good morning to you, Roland. Good morning to my brother from way back. We were on campus together so many decades ago. And good morning to all your very many viewers as well. Happy to be here. First and foremost, I really do not understand why our friends on the other side seem to be agitated over nothing. You watch what is going on all over the world. You watch, for example, what's going on in the US, and you will notice that much as there is a major pandemic, there is still the need to be able to hold government to account. No day passes without the people of America holding the government of President Trump accountable to what is going on. For example, he's been told in plain language, for example, that you failed to react in time. That the whole of January, the whole of February, you let go of massive opportunities to have taken decisions which if you have taken would have been able to reduce the crisis that America is facing today. Those comments are coming not just from people who are in the media, they're coming from people who are not necessarily in politics. Some of them are coming from politicians. And I've not heard Donald Trump say, for example, it was simply because these comments are being made, and therefore the fight against the pandemic was going to be undermined. I don't think so at all. I think we should appreciate that when you are in leadership and you are doing what you're doing, there is a need to be able to be open to receive what you call comments, to receive good suggestions, and also to receive constructive criticism. That's the only way you're going to be able to make the proper decisions that will actually inure for the good of the people. So I really am not getting this whole, shall I call it, obsession about politicization. I really am not getting it at all. The flag bearer of the NDC has shown throughout this whole period to be a great patriot and somebody who has shown to be above even partisanship. I mean, if there is anyone who has made genuine constructive criticisms, made suggestions, and he brought his opinion as to the best way things can be done, I mean, he should be the one. Even long before a number of decisions were taken, he had already come out to suggest things that could be done to, for example, mitigate the hardships of the people. And a lot of those suggestions were subsequently taken on board. Even though our friends might want to say that they were already thinking about it, truth of the matter is that the flag bearer of NDC went ahead of them and made a number of those proposals. A number of the things that had subsequently been done.
Well, their concern was that he was not in government. He may be a former president, but you know, going ahead and putting together a COVID team, and that COVID team sandwiching him to make donations, etc. They feel that it divides the focus, the national focus.
Why should he? Why should he? It should not really be a problem at all.
Why not?
Really, what did that COVID team really do? That COVID team simply brought on board suggestions. They were made up of people who are not politicians per se. They are people who are technical people. They are people who have been in the field, who have had experience. So it's a question of pulling together that experience. They say, you know what, we have been here. We face something to that effect, especially when Ebola happened. And therefore, we've had some experience. And therefore, we want to make available that experience to you. We actually said we wanted to make sure these...
Why didn't they just walk to the corridors of Jubilee House and say, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Yaba, we have come. We want to perhaps also be part of the meetings, not necessarily representing in the national media when the communication is done, to be part of the meeting and also help in the broader discussion. Perhaps that gives a better, more compact blueprint. Perhaps that's what government wants, you never know.
What is wrong with having a group of identified people who have had experience in previous, situations in government, coming together and say, this is our view on how, and suggestions on how things ought to be done? What is wrong with that? It is only a group of very insecure people who are very insecure and who themselves are thinking that this is an opportunity to score cheap partisanship, that you will be scared about people making constructive suggestions. If you actually know that what you're doing is in the interest of the people, you don't have a problem when good suggestions are being brought, even when constructive criticism are being brought. You don't have a problem with that. It is only insecure people who worry when they feel that people are actually trying to literally expose them. That's when you get worried at all. I mean, when Ebola happened in this country, we did not even have some of these constructive criticisms coming from our friends who were then in opposition. We actually had a situation where their flag bearer at the time made comments that were really considered to be rather very destructive comments, as opposed to working in terms of bringing suggestions that are constructive. So I don't understand the obsession. I just think that our friends possibly felt that this was their opportunity to, under the disguise of the pandemic, to do things and expect that no other voice was going to be heard. And therefore they get worried when other voices are being heard, even when those voices, all they do is to bring constructive criticism. I really don't see all their worries at all.
You know. And as you talk, for example, let me have a quote, and this one is from the Daily Graphic, given back in March. And it says, the flag bearer has called on Ghanaians, the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has called on Ghanaians to support government in the prevention of coronavirus and helping in the National Day for Fasting and Prayers as called for by the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Super.
That's it, man.
Super.
That's a good call.
First of all, Ebola didn't happen in this country, so let's just put that off the table. In the beginning, it was a good call. In the beginning, it was a good call. In the beginning, he stayed focused. Then, fast forward, the question you asked, if you recognize eminent people who can support the nation, do something, walk them to the president and say that I am the flag bearer of the opposition party, this is my contribution, a technical pool you can deploy, put them in the front line. That's one. Two, did he have to distribute food from door to door and tell the people that if I was the president, I would have done it differently? Did he have to? Could he not have contributed his food to the ministry which was distributing the food, or contributed resources to the COVID fund which had been set up? Did he have to personally go out there and show himself as a political actor seeking to influence events and to give food packs to people and say that I am the flag bearer of the NDC and I hope to be in government from 2020 and therefore remember me in your efforts? Did he have to set himself up and put flags of the nation behind him, pretending to be addressing the nation, and then to make comments about what he would do differently beyond 2020? Did he have to? No. These are the signs of politicization we are saying. Nobody is saying that the NDC or the flag bearer of the NDC cannot contribute positively to the national effort. Nobody is saying that he cannot criticize if he believes so. But the gamesmanship, the one-upmanship, oh, I suggested it, it's being done. No, I did this, I know how to do this, I will do it this way. When I come in with the trappings of state, pretending to give addresses, getting out into the field, creating the impression that he is doing something parallel to the effort of the state. And that
what he did, how is that different from what Christian Council, various well-meaning international organizations also did on the road, which were also highly publicized, with attending media, sometimes live coverages, etc., willfully donating packs of items as part of the complementary role that the state was also playing? How different was that? Because he is an opposition leader.
Thank you. The difference is politics. The Christian Council is not a political body. Nothing they do can be construed to be in opposition to the current leadership of the government or to detract from what the government is doing. It's complementary. It's acceptable. The private sector,
when the opposition leader does it, then it's not complementary.
The private sector, as we speak, is building an instant hospital. They plan to build 3 or 4 more if they can. They have fed people extensively. Media covered them. Nowhere did government say that the private sector initiative coming together was against the interest of government. Indeed, at some point, there were political actors helping the private sector to distribute the food, if we recall. But when you have an opposition leader who is already being elected, and his sole job now is to oppose, he thinks, the president of the nation, and who sets himself up to pretend to be running a parallel government, then you have issues. Because at this time, the avenues for supporting the government in the best intention possible, to present yourself in a political manner, is to be seen to be supporting the existing government. Your efforts should go to the collective pool so that there is no ambiguity about your intentions. Once you're a political actor, it's important that you realize that your motives will be questioned. Once you're a political actor, it's important that you realize that whatever you say will be contextualized. Once you're a political actor, you must be more aware of yourself in the midst of a national crisis. Look at South Africa. The South African parliament is probably the most vociferous on the African continent. They came together, 14 political parties came together and signed a pact that they would support President Ramaphosa with all their will and all their mind and all their combined intellectual political resources. And that is what they are doing. They are not out there screaming from the top of their voices that we are helping Ramaphosa, but when we come to power, we will do this. We are sharing food here. We are creating platforms where we can present ourselves as if we are doing a national address. They are not doing that. They are behind Ramaphosa. We expect everybody to be behind the president. It does not detract from your identity as an opposition political leader. If the former president, John Mahama, walks up to Jubilee House, nobody will turn him back. If he demands an audience with the president, nobody will turn him back. If he wants a meeting that is publicized with the president, he can take media there and tell the president to his face, Mr. President, I believe the fight should be going this way or that way. But to set yourself up with a desk and a flag and to address the nation, I mean, the optics of it are just not right.
So that, because we've seen the opposition leader, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is now the president, when he was then in opposition, also do same. And is it because of the time, we're in a different time, so that cannot be accepted?
He addressed the nation in the guise of a presidential address.
Not necessarily, but, he still had addresses given to the nation, and we had flags of both the party and these are visible.
You see?
And the country as well. Not necessarily representing that he's president.
I have been careful.
That's why I'm asking, is it because it is a period of coronavirus?
I've been careful not to rule out the right of John Mahama to participate in this process. He has a right. The NDC is participating in Parliament. They have raised issues in Parliament. We engage them in Parliament. They have a right. What we are saying is that when you set yourself to participate in a manner that the optics of which appear to demonstrate that you are running or trying to run or be identified with a parallel authority, that is not on. And so when the president addresses the nation, and then John Mahama sets himself up to address the nation in like manner, it's a direct competition for attention that we don't need at this time. He can direct his criticisms, he can direct his support, he can direct his good intentions to the person of the president directly without competing with the president. He can have photo opportunities with the president. He can issue statements, he can do whatever. But this notion that I must appear presidential, I must speak presidentially, I must show people that I'm in the running for the presidency, it is the wrong time. We are not running for the presidency at this time. We are managing COVID.
Purely, he says, and the position that they have is that the time is not right. The posture is okay, but the time for the posture is just not right.
I see. That's why I said again that our friends are just being hypocritical. They're just being very hypocritical. Candidate Nana Akufo-Addo as a flag bearer of the NPP in opposition used to actually make addresses and with the Ghana flag behind him. I'm surprised that my friend Samuel Boabin is claiming today that this is completely unprecedented. This is novel. It's not. It's not at all. In fact, at the time he was even doing it, he had never even risen to the position of a president of this country. The highest position he had occupied was Attorney General and Foreign Minister. And he used to have a Ghana flag, making an address while he was opposition leader. And you're talking about somebody who had actually risen not just to become vice president of Ghana, but also to become president of Ghana. And he has a flag and making an address that's supposed to be totally ahead of. That's just hypocrisy, my brother. His concern is that what food is being distributed and food should have been brought to the common pool. Oh, really? So what he says is that if, for example, former President Rawlings decided to send food donations to communities that are vulnerable, places that he knew that there were people who were vulnerable, that amounted to what? Politics? Amounted to what?
If you don't clear house,
amounted to
you run into logistical problems.
You know, I think we are just dealing with hypocrisy of the highest level. If you watch what goes on, as I said earlier, on in different parts of the world, and he quoted South Africa, in Ghana, the parliament, majority and minority came together, worked to make sure every single emergency bill was passed. every single one was passed. We did not say, for example, we were opposed to bills that were critically important for this country. We did not. That tells you the spirit of cohesion and the fact that we understood that this was a crisis that was affecting the whole nation. No NDC, no MPP, everybody on board, and we made sure we work together. Now, if you watch, for example, what goes on in America, in the midst of this pandemic, Biden, who is the opposition leader, had a whole town hall on CNN, live. And in that town hall, he basically gave his opinion as to what was going on, how things can be done better, constructive criticism, and made suggestions, exposed exactly how he would have gone about it, pointed to something that he thought were not good and how he would have done it better. So as I said already, we are dealing here with a bunch of very insecure people who actually thought that this actually was their opportunity for grandstanding, to be able to take hold of the whole discussion and make sure they saturated the system. And every single time when, for example, the president goes making the broadcast and, for example, water that he never contributed anything to because the whole infrastructure was supplied before he came. When he gives that water for free and his partisans are clapping for him and they are shouting for more for Nana, he gets excited. So he gets worried that somebody else is actually making contribution in the space. That's what I'm telling you, it's just complete hypocrisy, total hypocrisy. Now, so this whole talk about the food should have been brought to a common pool in order for it to be given. And if you had any suggestion, bring it to a common center before it gets done. I think really just our friends being just desperate. Our friends be really being desperate.
Let me take you to the United States. And this is published in the Wall Street Journal. And they said the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, says, I'm a member of Congress. And when the time comes for generals to stand up, we will stand up. The president is not managing this crisis as he should. And what we Democrats could do is to ensure that the lives of Americans are protected. That is a direct criticism, logically, of the opposition leader, because they were still in the process of primaries, even though Joe Biden is in the lead in the race. So virtually we have an opposition leader who is directly talking back to the president of the republic. And they hold daily summits and meetings and virtual news conferences on the subject, even in America where they've lost 30 million jobs. Now back to Ghana. We've had a point in time, just in the last address, the president announced 88 health facilities will be built. On top of that, 6 other hospitals will be built in 6 new regions. Before then, we'd had the opposition leader say, of course, in a broadcast that the party, as well as government team managing COVID, does not agree with, that these 6 new hospitals, when he is elected, would also be built. My question is very simple. We know that hospitals had not been reopened, even though completed in time, until COVID came in, so we had to then make a rationalized use of them. So if the opposition leader, who was president, makes commentary on this and even proposes solutions and policy directions in that regard, even though we're in COVID, nobody can say that's wrong, or could we?
It is the tone, the posture, the raising of temperatures. That is the situation. Nobody has said your mama cannot campaign. He's campaigning.
He's campaigning?
He is campaigning. Your mama is campaigning. Nobody has said he's not campaigning. He is campaigning. But the people of this country don't want a political campaign now. Who are you campaigning to? You are campaigning to the people of the country. The people want us to solve the problem of COVID. The people are worried about their safety. We all as Ghanaians should be worried about the safety of Ghanaians. The Americans are criticizing. They are not trying to run a parallel government. They are worried about the safety of Americans. They are not trying to share food themselves. They are not creating the impression that they are going to build hospitals when they don't demonstrate the resources for that. They are not creating the impression that they are running a parallel government. They are not. They are criticizing within the context of their cultural milieu and their political structures. In our system, The way John Mahama is inserting himself into the process and seeking to be recognized is politicking of the highest order. Nobody wants that distraction now. Nobody wants to divert our attention from the issues at stake now. Nobody wants us to start bantering about infrastructure and otherwise. Is it equated telling Ghanaians that we didn't drink water before John Mahama became president? And what about meals? What about Kufuor and the East-West connection and all that? Are we now going to start bantering about who did what? When the people have to be dealt with on social distancing, when masks have to be provided, when PPEs are being manufactured locally, when there's a stimulus to be discussed and implemented, when people need water, when people need food, people need electricity, people need to get on with their lives. There are losses in business, international trade is shut down, and we are still running an economy where salaries are being paid. Kids are at home from school. We don't even know when schools will reopen. We don't know when churches can go back. We don't know when we are fasting. We don't even know when we can go into a mosque to pray together. These are real issues of restarting our lives in the midst of COVID. What is the strategic situation of COVID? Is it going to be with us forever? Are we going to be able to beat it and say the last thing is gone? When can we start our lives properly again? These are matters that are germane to the very survival of this nation. An imported national threat, a threat that is all over the world, a threat that has shut the world down, a threat that is creating a new international economic order, a threat that must be confronted with strategic leadership thinking. And you want us to banter about who built which hospital? You want us to banter that we were drinking from wells before John Mahama became president? What about the debts he left behind? Is that what you want us to banter about? Dumso. Is that what you want us to do now? Who created Dumso and who couldn't solve it? Is that who couldn't pay health workers? Who built structures which were not equipped? Didn't have doctors and nurses? Is that what you want us to talk about when the people want to listen to solutions about COVID? It is wrong. That's why we are saying that Mr. Mahama is jumping the gun. Former President Mahama is the candidate of the NDC. As we sit here, we haven't even conducted our elections. We don't have a candidate. We don't have a candidate. Mr. President and Mr. Vice President are busy working. We are yet to determine whether Mr. President is our candidate. As I sit here, I don't know whether I'm a candidate or not. Primaries are yet to be conducted.
4 more for Nana. What are you talking about?
Please. It's a serious matter.
4 more for Nana.
4 more for Nana.
4 more for Nana is for who? For a non-candidate?
4 more for Nana. It is the reputation and the leadership quality of John Mahama that will make him survive, not the politicking out of 10, not the politicking at the wrong time. As I sit here, I don't even know whether I'm a candidate. The MPP has forgone that situation in the interest of the national fight against COVID. We should have had primaries on 25th April. We don't even know when we will, because it is not in the interest of this nation for us to go and line up and select a candidate if we are going to kill each other during in that process. So politics is in abeyance, genuinely in abeyance. So why are the NDC forcing us into banter about politics? Why are the NDC trying to insist that at this time we must deal with John Mahama and his claims, factious as they are? You've had the opportunity before. If we want to go into politics, let us go back and look at the Hansard and see how many profound statements John Mahama made in 12 years in Parliament, which will impact today's leadership crisis. We have so many things we could say about John Mahama. We are not, because this is not the time. This is not the time to engage in banter and politicking. This is the time to be nationalistic. This is the time to give unalloyed support to the leadership that we have in place, who are bending all their energies and will to managing this economy to deal with COVID and make the economy live as it should.
So as I said earlier, I just keep repeating it, that he's engaging in what you call double speak.
Why? Because the former president went on speaking about hospitals and that the hospitals that were built in his time, government failed to roll them out and until COVID had come in. And now the consensus from the government team and the party MPP is that the time is not. We're sacrificing. So you also need to sacrifice the sort of information you want to put out there to your publics.
So when, for example, you hear Democrats telling President Trump that the CDC had been emasculated after the departure of President Obama. And if he had not emasculated that CDC, America's preparation would have been far more advanced, and they would have been able to reduce what you call the crisis in America. It's supposed to be out of place. When you hear the CDC, for example, say that if Trump had actually reacted quickly, and not actually said, for example, that it was just a flu, it was going to go by the coming of April, and acted as quickly as other countries had acted, does that mean that it was supposed to be out of place? I'm saying our friends are simply being hypocritical. President Mahama has shown a high level of responsibility. I mean, all the statement he's made has been, in fact, for the most 99% of what he said has been nothing short of positivity. If the roles were reversed, I can tell you that our friends on the other side, you will not have had this level of responsibility from them. I mean, these are people that even in opposition, some of the things that you actually don't say, like for example, revealing things like what you call net international reserves of your country, which is not supposed to be even revealed. They were basically on platforms shouting it to the rooftop, indirectly letting investors feel that, listen, what, national net international reserves are so low, and therefore you might as well come and pull your investment, because it means that if anything happens, you might not be able to get your foreign money. That's a level of lack of patriotism we're dealing with, and you are rather talking about responsibility. You are actually not the one to be actually preaching to anybody about that at all. Let us make it clear again. What it is we have now is a crisis, and we appreciate. And in that crisis, no one is perfect. Not the president is perfect. None of his ministers are perfect. There's no one who is perfect. So therefore, making suggestions to be able to make the situation better cannot be said to be grandstanding for electioneering. And the business about any time the flag bearer of NDC speaks is campaigning. But when the president actually delivers his speeches, and people are clapping for him because of the goodies that he's supposed to be giving to the people of Ghana, that's not campaigning. When people are shouting 4 years for Nana, it's not a campaign. Somehow they don't have a candidate. So if you don't have a candidate, what is the 4 year for Nana for? Is a 4 year for Nana supposed to be for a non-candidate or for a candidate? I mean, just cut the hypocrisy and let's look forward to the best way we can help our people to come out of this difficulty.
Over the last 24 hours until now, we've had some hashtags trend, Bawumia must focus, etc. So let's speak to it looks like on social media, the overwhelming, perhaps, concern about the reaction of the vice president. Perhaps we'll pick it all about how the ordinary Ghanaian feels that perhaps the posture of government should be on focusing on governance instead of speaking to what the opposition would say on related political bantering. Has that been taken in? That look, it looks like we need to look at our back and check ourselves and make sure that we just revert back to the issues of governance.
Yeah, Roland.
Instead of just responding to the opposition.
Yeah, Roland. Bawumia, Vice President Bawumia supports the presidency, has been working with the presidency on this. But human as we are, at some point you need to set the records and clear the air. Clearly the former president running loose with his addresses, at some point somebody had to say, hey, please, let's stay focused. So the overwhelming opinion of Ghanaians is that Bawumia having responded, His Excellency the Vice President having responded, let us leave it there. Let us not engage them anymore. Let us get on with the business of fighting COVID. I think it's a sentiment that the Vice President more than shares, because he was reluctant. He was genuinely reluctant.
Who forced him? Who forced him to react that way?
You see, Roland, we live in a leadership environment. Leadership is political. To the extent that the trust of the nation is in you to deliver something in the interest of the nation. And when the president stands up to speak, he is not standing there politicking. When the president says, I'm giving free water, he is not giving away goodies. He is making sure that the needs of the people are met. When the president is doing that, and the economics of it is being managed with the support of the vice president and the economic management team, it is distracting to hear the kinds of things that we're hearing from the former president.
And not the vice president?
No, that's what I'm saying. It is distracting for all the government, including the vice president. Because how many times have you heard the vice president come out and speak in this era? But he comes out to say, please, let's stay focused. What you are doing is not right. If you want to talk politics, this is the comparative situation that we have. We have a crisis that is still ongoing. And we are dealing with that crisis constructively, trying to mitigate the pain and suffering of Ghanaians. So the vice president was restating the position that we are focused on. But somebody had to tell the former president something.
But you would agree that this was widely condemned. His posture, his comment was widely condemned by at least the masses on who really surf the internet.
I think that you don't see it more as, you don't see it in the context of condemnation more than the weakness of allowing yourself to be provoked, more or less. I mean, you shouldn't. I think the reaction is about not allowing yourself to be provoked.
So he was provoked?
In a sense, that's what I'm trying to say. The posture of the former president has been not less than provoking in all aspects. He's out there, he's campaigning, nobody begrudges him that.
So the former president, flag bearer of the opposition, yes, provoked the president and the vice president, and the vice president could not restrain himself but react.
He has provoked this reaction. I'm not saying he's provoked the president and the vice president. He has provoked a reaction in the public space based on his posture and the things he was doing.
But you do agree it should not have been?
That's what I'm saying.
So you agree it should not have been?
No, I'm saying that once it's happened, we are willing to move on. I'm saying that now the nation has told us, drawn the line, that stay focused, fight COVID for us. Provide us the quality of leadership you are continuing to provide. Don't be diverted by them. That's what the nation is saying with their reaction to.
But the nation is also saying invariably that that's a minus for you. The way you reacted was not good.
But it's a one-off and it's over. It's a one-off.
So it will not be repeated?
No, because we don't want to. We listen. That is why we have suspended political activity and we are waiting. We listen. We want to be part of the nation, and we are part of the nation. We want to be part of the stresses the nation is experiencing, and we are experiencing those stresses. We want to feel what the nation is feeling, and we are feeling it. And so we are waiting and willing to allow the government and the president to lead us forward.
Mr. Bobinsa, I have to commend you. You're a very cunning communicator.
Oh, please, Roland.
You have a way of turning around issues. And what do you think should be the posture going forward now?
First, let me talk about what had happened first, before we talk about...
Oh, the Bawumia must focus. Okay.
It says what? The vice president was provoked. Provoked by what exactly?
By the comments,
by the posture
of the former president, who is the leader of the opposition.
NDC flag bearer's posture has provoked him. Which posture? The fact that the NDC flag bearer,
commentaries.
The fact that the NDC flag bearer had addressed people of Ghana, making suggestions as to exactly what can be done, bringing his view onto the discussion.
Political claims.
That's supposed to be what?
Provocation.
Provocation?
Yes.
Why should that be a provocation?
Well, that's what he says.
Why should it be a provocation?
Spurious political
so, for example, when Joe Biden makes comment in America, proposes way forward, suggests as to what can be done, criticizes constructively what is being done, it's supposed to be provoking
when you
Donald
make a
Trump
claim that only you brought water into the world, it's provocative.
It's supposed to be provocation? I mean, why is there provocation? That's what I'm saying, that you can actually see that these people, as far as they are concerned, this was an opportunity to have a complete monopoly, to monopolize the whole space and make sure that only their voices are heard. Only they are speaking on a day-to-day basis and pretend that somehow they are not campaigning. But when actually every single thing they are doing amounts to nothing but campaigning. So now they are worried that somebody else's voice is being heard. That's why I'm telling you that it is simply nothing short of the highest level of hypocrisy and double talk. But let's go a little more into it. What did the former president, the flag bearer of NDC say that actually should constitute provocation?
So he was commenting about hospitals,
say, for example,
why more need to be built and consolidation of the health system. He's not the president, he was a former president.
And what is wrong with that? What is wrong with suggesting, for example, that we can actually do more in terms of health infrastructure? Because what actually is bedeviling us has to do with investment in health infrastructure. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with admitting, for example, that the economy is in difficulty? What's wrong with that? The American economy is in difficulty.
So is this the time?
I mean, millions of people are unemployed. Companies are going bankrupt. Everybody does know that the whole world economy is in difficulty. So if the flag bearer of NDC says that the economy is in difficulty, what is wrong with that? For you to say that you have been provoked. Now, if the economy were not in difficulty, would you have to go to the IMF in order to go and borrow $100 million to be able to, for example, get food for the people of Ghana? The vulnerable people of Ghana? If the economy were not in difficulty? Will you have, for example, to go and take the stabilization fund and take money out of it in order to be able to, as it were, support the economy? Would you have to depend on the IMF to raise about $1 billion, to support your balance of payment position? Obviously, the economy is in difficulty. So why are you running away from that? So the fact that you feel that because there's COVID, truth should not be said. So anybody who speaks the truth is supposed to be doing campaigning.
That's politicization.
How does that amount to politicization? So I'm saying that there are certain things that are fundamental. So the Vice President now comes and says what? There have been two major crises in Ghana. Doomsday crisis and then COVID crisis. And then people of Ghana should make a comparison as to who has been the best manager out of the two situations. Really? That's supposed to be your response to a president making suggestions as to the best way we can do things?
A former president. That's the feeling.
Once a president, always a president.
A former president.
All over the world, you are president, you are referred to as president. Yeah. President Bush, President Clinton, that's how it goes.
That's America. He says this Ghana.
You see, there again, we are dealing with a bunch of people who are very insecure. Very, very insecure. That's why you can see, for example, a former president who is making an address and consider it to be, okay, it means he wants to take power from us.
Okay, so there was a question that I asked. So comment forward, what will be the posture of the NDC team as we wrap up? Because this will be your last call.
I really don't understand this business of a posture at all.
Oh.
NDC right from the beginning has shown
government is concerned.
Concerned about what?
The governing New Patriotic Party is concerned.
They are concerned about what exactly?
The COVID national management team is concerned. The posture and the commentary, when the former president speaks, they say distracts from the general conversation around how COVID should be managed in Ghana.
I don't understand why.
So I'm asking, what will be the posture going forward?
I'm saying that on our side, right from the beginning to now, we have shown high level of patriotism and responsibility. We've done a number of things that only people who are really concerned about their country will do. We didn't go out there to simply criticize every single thing that is going on. We commended things that are right.
So the
we made suggestions as to the best way. Absolutely. We have to continue making sure that we bring ideas to ensure that the people
will continue donating.
What is wrong with donations?
What
is wrong with making constructive suggestions?
We are going to stay very focused. We will be disciplined, we will restrain ourselves, and we will continue to educate Ghanaians and engage Ghanaians.
Even if the opposition still continue with Facebook.
I think Ghanaians have demonstrated that we must ignore them. I think the reaction, Ghanaians have shown that they are going nowhere and we must ignore them.
Oh, rather?
We must stay focused.
You are rather exposing yourself.
We cannot allow ourselves to be diverted and sidetracked into unnecessary politicking. This is not the time.
Well, just spoken is Yabuabing Asamoah. He is a member of parliament for Adentan, but also director of communication, the MPP. Thank you, Honorable Boabing Asamoah. And then also Fifi Kwete is a member of parliament for Ketu South, a former deputy finance minister, and he's still insisting that the posture of former president, flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, and the way he has been commenting on the COVID management and the crisis itself is the way to go. There's no turning back to any other modus operandi. Thank you very much, Honorable Kwete.
It's a pleasure.
Well, so it's where we transition. We have a conversation. We told you about that. Talking about COVID and its management, we also do know that alternative traditional medicine plays a key role. Just a few days ago, we heard that Madagascar was apparently shipping out of that country into other countries on the continent some herbal medicines and cures. So we want to put a general perspective to this. How can we use that industry to play a complementary role? Because we're playing complementary roles. And so we'll have some great biochemical engineers and also other experts right here on the show. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with that.
Roland, we've got, we actually have an assembly of persons who've got deep knowledge in this area joining us, don't we?
We have an assembly of academics, experts, as well as practitioners in the industry. And who first would have to do an introduction for them. Dr. Amin Bonsu, you all know him, he's very popular on your screens. CEO of Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Hospital, and a former board member of the Center for Research into Plant Medicine. Also helping us do the discussion is Dr. Caleb Kese Frimpong. He is a medicinal plant biochemist with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Solomon Apiakubi, Dr. Solomon Apiakubi is also President, Herbal Manufacturers Association of Ghana, the Kumasi chapter. And so we're in to have a broader conversation on the subject. We're not saying that it is, but alternatively, how can we complement this? And straight away, let me go to the biochemist at the top, Dr. Caleb Frimpong. Good morning to you, and good morning to all of you generally. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. I didn't
Can you also hear me?
Yes, yes. Amen Scientific, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great,
how are you?
great.
God bless you all.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Now, let me start with you, Dr. Kese Frimpong. Scientifically, how have we been doing it? Can you give us a history in point as to where we started from and how we've been able to come to this point by way of how we started, and then the artisanal means by where we started, and then we came to regulation and now doing the academics of it?
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, we know that in the country, we have a lot of medicinal plants that can be used to treat viral diseases. And these viral diseases, they include measles, common cold, pneumonia, smallpox. And over the years, we have been able to use some of these medicinal plants to effectively treat these diseases. But the situation is that there has been a lack of standardization of this product so that people can take it and feel very safe. Then also the policy direction as far as this country is concerned with regard to this kind of herbal preparation has not been very, very solid as we see in other countries. But basically there's also a challenge with regard to the capacity of the resources that we have in order to carry out an activity of this nature. So for a start, all that we need is a herbal preparation that has the potential to treat a viral infection. Once that is established, we will be able to extend it to this coronavirus condition. Let me say that this is not the first time that coronavirus-related deadly diseases has been taken in Ghana here, because in 2002 there was SARS, and in 2012 there was MERS. Then currently we have COVID-19. So coronavirus-related diseases, this is not the first time of its kind. And as we look at the Ghanaian herbal medicine, we hope that if we screen all this preparation, it's likely that we can get some form of medication against this COVID-19.
Dr. Amin Bonsu, how do you see the industry now? Is it in a better position of regulation? And then alternatively, we can go into mainstreaming it into the orthodox practice of the pharmaceuticals?
Yes, may God bless you all. We pray that Allah save the whole world, our country and the whole world from this COVID-19 infection. Yes, we know that Ghana has a department and ministry as a Territory Department Directorate. We also have the TMPC, Ghana Traditional Medicine Practitioner Council. We also have the Association of GAFRAM. We have all these regulations, like before your medicine goes to the Food and Drug Board for approval, you send it to Adam Mampong or Care University for microbial analysis, and then what do you call it, sub-toxicity tests and so on and so forth. Until the medicine is proved to be safe and efficacious before the Food and Drug Authority approve it. And so that is basically what we have been doing and what we have been practicing, the herbal medicine. And since the COVID came, as our brother indicated in his speech, the COVID is not the first time. And then we have been using some medicine, especially even when you go to Saudi Arabia, I send some medicine also there who have what do you call it? Middle East respiratory symptoms of coronavirus. That is Middle East respiratory syndrome of coronavirus. We send our medicine there, and they are being treated. So being used, and it has effectively treat all this what do you call it disease. Now, when it comes to COVID-19, since it came, we also have done the robust what do you call it research into it, and see how we can manipulate all these medicines and see how we can also go about it. Thanks to God, some people who fall on us and they have the symptoms to the extent that in USA somebody was on oxygen for 3 days. By God's grace, when he got hold of our medicine, now he's okay. That the difficulty in breathing, coughing, and all the symptoms now, by God's grace, has been relieved. He has been relieved of all the symptoms. Now, the one of them who early used it, as I say, I have this. He brought it from US. He tested positive, and now he's negative. So we believe that if you work effectively on our medicine, the whole organization GAFRAM has sent about 32 products to the ministry to be used in our medicine, including mine, which I'm talking about now. And so if the country would have been a bit fast and listening to us, especially, and have been involving us in the whole process, I think you will have been the first even to come out with medicine, rather not Madagascar. But as we have been slow, that has been the position for us now. But we believe by God's grace, if we act positively and very active and be fast and bold enough, it will, by God's grace, help us also to come out with medicine.
Now, Dr. Piakubi, if you look at what literature is available, it looks like because we're coming from a very traditional, artisanal state, there seems to be a certain mixed reaction in believing the efficacy of the practice itself, and then when the final product's on the market, it's used. There are related concerns about dosages, the quantities, and ultimately the processes of manufacturing. Do you think these are the main concerns that perhaps are inhibiting the ability of the general society, the industry, to be able to have these accepted?
Thank you very much, Roland, and then good morning once again to your viewers. Roland, I would say that is not, to me, to the manufacturing industry, that will not be the main focus. Basically because some of us, the manufacturers, we rely on the research being conducted, documented. For instance, we have the Ghana Herbal Pharmacopoeia, the first edition written 1980. And then we have the other additions that have been added. So now, when you look at this compendium or look at these monographs, they have the plant medicines in Ghana. And if you are looking for that, for instance, immunomodulators or immune boosters is indicated. If you're looking at maybe infections, all these ones are documented. So some of us, we go in for this herbal pharmacopoeia. We pick the ingredients that they have been prescribed, known to be effective against certain ailments. And based on that one, we do our formulations. So I would say that it's, to some extent, some of these things has been ironed out already. You see, we have this primitive idea that, dosages and stuff. That was the old type. That was the old archaic type. We are in the modern Ghana, and herbal medicine has been introduced to KNUST, and there's a lot of research data project works that have been conducted on some of these plants. And some of us as herbal manufacturing industry, we use this one as a base. So scientifically, there's evidence. For instance, if you are taking, for instance, maybe Aconia cordifolia, and a test has been run that it has the ability to boost immune system, that is immunomodulator. We based on that one and based on preparation. So I would say, Ghana, we have come a long way. At least we have, in terms of dosaging, in terms of regulation, at least the FDA is also helping out. As in coming out with the GMP food manufacturing practices being introduced into the manufacturing sector, assisting us to streamline our processes, or with the necessary standard operating procedures. All these ones are being adhered to when it comes to the herbal manufacturing as an industry. So I would say we've come a long way. And I believe that it is time, as a country, we also realize that it is no longer putobushibum, as the accounts will say. We have come a long way that we can really trust also Ghanaian herbal medicines, as you could see Madagascar have done it. And more also, Roland, realize that Madagascar, it was an institution. It was Malagasy Institute. It's an institution that came out with the product and then supported by the government. Roland, I also strongly believe that as much as GAFTRAM as a body have sent about products to Center for Scientific Research into plant medicine to work on it, as a body, as an institution, as Center for Scientific Research plant medicine, alongside KNU, at least these two institutions could also be resourced with funding. Okay, this is the current situation. Now, based on the researches you have done over the years, can you also compound a product, come out with a product that can help mitigate the situation, so that as an institution, they also work on products as they also do analysis on the one the manufacturers have sent to them. We can do something similar with KNUST. And in that way, we, the manufacturers, have more to feed on. As the KNUST, they are resourced in terms of funding to carry out more research vis-a-vis this current condition, so that we can have, they can relay those information to us, so that we can take on last year to produce. And we believe that this one can also go a long way to help the country recover from this pandemic.
And Dr. Frimpong, you wrote an article, and based on this article, we decided to also preface this discussion on this whole subject. And you said the objective of this write-up is therefore to sensitize a national discourse on the development and use of standardized herbal medicines as complementary therapy in public health diseases, including COVID-19. Now, let me ask the question. If we want to formalize this, it has to come from a national institution, definitely. And how do we move forward with it so that people and practitioners like Immense Scientific, and we also have Apia Kubi there, will know that they are in an industry which has a future for all to believe and practice?
I think on paper, it looks very beautiful. We have all the rules and the guidelines as far as going through these protocols are concerned. The issue is with regard to the implementation, because everybody knows Center for Plant Medicine Research, which has been mandated to investigate some of these studies. But unfortunately, we are not seeing them coming out strongly in times like this. And I'm very happy that Joy FM has taken this debate, and we hope that we can sustain this debate so that at the end of the day, we can get a result. Because we know that Ghana is rich in diversity of medicinal plants, and this medicinal plant over the years has stand the test of time. For instance, anybody with herbal preparation who claims that this herbal preparation is very good, the person will get confused where to even to go, because a lot of people have reservation about this medical product. But I can tell you that if we are to make things easier, if we are to make things transparent, if the Center for Scientific into Plant Medicine are to take some of these things and just package it nicely, I think that we will be able to get all these people coming so that we can.
And Dr. Mimbo, so what is China? What has China done right? That for which
we have the experimental environment for us to also carry out some of these studies. And when you go to the Center for Plant Medicine, you realize some local, some outside. So the challenge has not been with regard to what we call it, the facility itself, but how we can implement the decisions, how we can implement the protocol, and that has been the situation.
Okay. All right, Dr. Amin Bonsue, just a question to you before we wrap up. Why has China had its herbal medicinal practice or therapy accepted worldwide, and Africa and ours, we're still struggling? What have you picked from there?
Yes, what I picked from there, you know, you were there, you were in Japan and so forth. You see, the people have themselves promoting it, the government, everybody there, you see. But if from where we have gone far, you know, people have done doing medical herbalists almost for 20 years. Some of us got our studies outside, dealing with this one. And people continue to have a problem of this kind of old mentality. Then we will continue to be where we are.
Okay.
So let me give you an example. This lady who was on oxygen in USA, the black doctor, the black American doctor who was taking care of, when he went there and he got our medicine and he wanted to take the medicine, he wanted to throw it out. He became angry. He didn't allow her. God so being good, they changed this doctor, and a white doctor came. And when he saw the medicine, so there's a renowned practitioner in Africa who has sent me this one. He said, oh, then take it. This is what the Chinese did. They took alongside with their traditional medicine. That's why they have been solved their problem. Behold, by God's grace, this lady took this medicine, and within 3 days now, yesterday when I talked to her, no coughing, no difficulty in breathing, and everything.
All
so
right.
If this mentality will continue to be there, then we continue to be where we are.
Okay.
But I think we have gone far. People have done a lot of studies.
Solomon, Apia Kubi, let me get to you. And please, just 30 seconds.
Sure.
How do we perhaps deepen the conversation on this? Just 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Roland. You see, right now we have the research institutions. We have at least the KNUST, we have the Center for Research into Plant Medicine. These are, let's say, institutions, and maybe even the FDA. Now, we can do a simple collaboration. Now, per KNUST so far, Ghana, we know, is endowed with immune boosters, which for over maybe the last 10 years, which immune plant materials can give us the best immune booster. We can get one from KNUST, another one from Mampo. And also we, for instance, the manufacturers, based on our experience over the years, which one among Ghana, which one can we get, the best out of Ghanaian soil? And they will link up with Dr. Sheikh, Scientific Herbal Clinic.
Well, we have to end this conversation.
We can develop something within about 2 days,
Solomon Apia
or so.
And Dr.
And then we
Solomon
develop from there, alongside what is being tested at the Center for Scientific Plant Medicine.
Herbal Manufacturers Association of Ghana. Dr. Caleb Kesefrimpong, also a medicinal plant biochemist with the KNUST. And then also Dr. Amin Bonsue, CEO of the Yemen Scientific Herbal Institute, and then also the alternative hospital that he operates. But it's where we bring you entertainment, the latest on AM Showbiz. Stay with us.